Okay, so let's see. Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Good evening.
Okay, good. Tang is always the only one who answers me good evening. Everyone just keeps quiet. Maybe I must say good evening, Sam. Good evening, Seba. Good evening, Bo. And who else is here? Good evening, Wang Sei. Okay. It seems to me like they cannot hear me. Okay. Um, all right. So let's just wait for yeah, while we wait for the others to join the session, let me tell you about what we are going to do today. Okay. So, um, let me just share my page with you. So today, okay, I want to just share with you what we are going to do, okay, from now on, okay? So from this point in your course, okay, we are going to focus on the past tense, okay? We are going to focus on the past because in term one and in previous sessions, we did focus on the the present, right? We did the present simple, the present continuous, and we also talked a lot about the gerund, and we concentrated on different verbs. You know, I introduced you to how you use different verbs, and we really let me just admit Rokshan. Okay, we really created the foundation, okay, that you need in order to go to the next level. Okay, so from now we are going to concentrate on the past tense, okay, because all of those verbs that you learned about, okay, with the present simple and the present continuous, and the different participles, all of those um, change, right? They change form. The grammar rules change when you are dealing with the past tense. So that is what we are going to concentrate on. Okay. So but first, okay, before we continue, I want to talk to you about the calendar. Okay, I want to talk to you about the calendar and numbers on a more advanced level. Okay, we're going to do that today. I know in term one we did talk about the calendar, the days of the week and all of that, but today we are going to talk about this on, and we also talked about numbers at an introduction level, right? So now we are going to do it a little bit more advanced. So I want to share with you my screen on page, let me just, yeah, so we are going to, I want to talk to you about the calendar first on page 64. Okay, so let me just share my screen with you. And here you will see, let me just, okay. You should be able to see the screen. Okay. So here you can see here you can see the calendar. Okay, we are going to learn some new vocabulary about the calendar today. Okay, so when you are working with the calendar, that is obviously the 6. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, so you have days, right? You have different days of calendar. So in English you have, see this word here, day. Okay, so you have different days, like each of these blocks represents a day, right? Like, so you have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, so each one is a day, right? When you have from Saturday to Friday, like we have here, so it's 7 days, right? So then you are dealing with, what are we dealing with here? We are dealing with a week. Can you see here? Okay, so that's a week. Okay, Monday to Friday, that's 1 week. You can say 1 week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? So when you are dealing with when you are then dealing with 4 weeks, or let's say 2 weeks. Okay, let's use this calendar as an example. So this is one day, number 7. This is 1 day. Okay, so this column represents our whole calendar. It normally has about 30 to 31 days. Okay, except for February, that has more day. That is the least number of days. February is very short in South Africa. I know in China you work under a different calendar system. So maybe in the next lesson you can tell me about how the calendar works in China. But this is the calendar that is used in a lot of English-speaking countries. Okay, so you have your January until, you see, like all of the months, January until December, right? So you have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, right? So here you have each day of the calendar in number 7, right? And then for every 7 days you have a week. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So that is a week. All right, so it's spelled with 2 E's. Okay, and then what happens? Every 2 weeks, right? So every 14 days or 2 weeks, like here we have on top it's 7 days, and at the bottom here we have another 7 days. So that's, in English we call that
fortnight.
a fortnight. Very good. Please give me a moment. I'm so sorry. I needed to just drink some water. So very well pronounced, right? So that is a fortnight, right? And then what is happening here? So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's about 4 weeks, just over 4 weeks. So this is a calendar month, or what they call a calendar month. Here we have month, right? So some people will say a month, or they'll say a calendar month, right? So that refers to those day 1 to day 31, you know, depending on how long the month is. And as I said, February is the shortest month, okay, in this calendar, and it changes. Sometimes it's Sometimes it's 28 days, sometimes it's shorter than that, right? So it's a strange month, right? So so that's a calendar month, okay? And then, as I said, we have all of your months of the year, like so. So what happens is, many times what happens is people shorten it, right? Or they abbreviate. Let me just see who's trying to join us. Sorry about that. Let me just admit. Okay, welcome. So if you look carefully at this picture, you will see there are many abbreviations, right? So short forms of the full words, because many of the words that go with the calendar are long, right? They're very long, so people just make it short. Like for Saturday, they'll say Sats, right? So Sats. Sunday becomes Sun, right? Monday becomes Man. Tuesday. So these are popular abbreviations, right? As you can see here. This is for number 3. This is Tu is for Tuesday, right? Number 4, Wed is for Wednesday. Th is for Thursday. Fr is for Friday, right? And the same applies to the months. Most of the months, the names of the months are very long, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3. Like, I know May is short. We are now in May. It's only 3 words. And it's my birthday on Friday. So so I'm very excited. So May is very short. And then also June and July are four letter words. May is a 3-letter word. May is a 3-letter word, and then June, July has got about 4 letters, right? But the rest of the months, the months' names are very long. So you will see people abbreviate. January becomes Jan. February becomes Feb. As you can see, April is, they just use the first 3 letters generally. So this applies to the month, and it applies to the days of the week, okay? So this is generally easy to remember, okay? So what also happens when you look at your year, right? So what happens is you have the seasons of the year, right? So here we have in number, so there are normally 4 seasons, right? There are 4 seasons of the year, right? So there are 4 seasons. What are they? They are called, first of all, what are seasons? Seasons is when the weather changes in the year, right? So it's like every 4 or 3 months, right? That's when the weather changes. So you are right. You have spring is number 1. Who can remember what is the other season? Spring? Summer?
Autumn.
Yes, autumn or fall, right? In some countries they call it fall, especially America. And then winter, right? Winter is the 4th one, okay? So what happens? Do you guys have a favorite season of the year? Do you have a favorite season? Mine is spring. I like spring because it's warm and it's rainy, and the flowers outside look so beautiful. That's my favorite time. And
I like winter.
You like winter? Do you like the cold and the rain?
Yes, I like cold.
Ooh, and the rain.
Mm.
And the snow. Yeah, because that's what happens, right? In winter you have
Yeah.
cold weather and we need warm clothes, right? And in some countries in winter you also get rain and snow, right? So the weather is some people enjoy it, some people don't like it. And then in summer, it's normally very, very hot, right? It's extremely hot and sunny, and everybody goes to the beach. And normally in South Africa, summer starts just after spring, right? So around middle of December, January. I really like that time of year because you can also have a lot of fun in the sun, but you need to protect your skin. Otherwise, you get very bad sun damage. Yeah. so so in the summer you get hot and sunny weather, and then in the or fall, autumn or fall, what happens is you get cool and windy weather, right? And then all of the trees, and in fact here what we have is an example. Let me show you an example in the pictures of so what do you think is number 18? Is it spring, or is it what do you think is the difference between picture number 18 and number 19? Is it winter, or is it let's see, or summer? We only have 2 seasons here. What do you think is happening with the trees?
I think the number 18 is summer and the number 19 is winter.
Yes, number 19 is winter because all of the number 18, what happens is that the leaves are green, right, on this tree. They are green and colorful because spring comes just after autumn, right? So in autumn, all of the trees sort of they lose their leaves, right? Because of the sorry. Let's go back. So before summer, we have spring. So what happens is spring is the trees, they grow again. The leaves and our plants have opportunity to grow again, right? And the flowers in the garden bloom. So then you have the nature is very beautiful in the summer, right? But in winter, what happens is many trees are not happy, okay? In winter, and plants, they lose their leaves and the flowers disappear, so there's no color. But there are some trees and plants that you get in winter. There are special winter plants and special winter trees, right? But in most of the time, or in many times, what happens is the nature just goes into it's almost like nature needs to take a rest, right? And then it grows again in the spring, and it looks very beautiful in summer, right? And then winter and autumn, the nature goes into a state of rest, okay? So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about the calendar. And then before we continue, I want to just show you in this worksheet, okay, let me show you this worksheet, and I will share this with you to help you remember. Okay, I'll put this in the group. Okay, so here you can see and you must never make a mistake with the spelling. Okay, so here we have summer was correct, and spring, right? Remember, it's 2 M's for summer. And then always remember autumn. Autumn is AUTUMN, right? M and N. And then winter is very easy, right, to remember. I want to also talk to you about something which I said in another lesson in the past. I said we would look at some public holidays, okay? Because when you are dealing with a calendar, what happens is in some countries you also get what are called public holidays, right? So many people, you say, oh, today's a public holiday, then they don't know what it means. They say, what do you mean it's a public holiday? What I've learned, because I work with students all over the world, is they have different days, different names for public holidays in different countries, right? But what happens is, in general, a public holiday is a special day, right? So people usually do not go to work or to school on this day, okay? And families and friends spend time together on this day. And some people travel, or they eat special food, or they pray or celebrate on this day, okay? Like, for example, one of my other clients is from Germany. He's from Germany. So they don't talk about public holidays. They talk about free days, right? It's a free day. He says to me, oh, Annie, I have a free day today. And I said, what do you mean? Do you mean like a public holiday? He says, yes. So it's like a free day that you are allowed to stay at home, right? And so for people who work, normally what happens is you do not need to take leave on the public holiday. The company will still pay you. You don't come to work, but the company still pays you on, I think, a reduced salary. They pay less on that day, but some people have to come to work in South Africa on public holidays, depending on which industry they work. Like if you work in a shopping mall, for example, they work, but the company must pay them more money for working on a public holiday, because technically speaking, the people should be off, right? But the shopping centers stay open because that's when they make money, right? So let's quickly look at some popular public holidays in English-speaking countries like South Africa and England, okay? So in South Africa, for example, we had the 27th of April, right? It was called Freedom Day, okay? So this is an important day in South Africa because people remember the first democratic elections in 1994, because South African people were not allowed to vote, right, to decide who is the president. And then in 1994, the political situation in the country changed, and people were now allowed to go and vote for who they want to be the leader or the president of the country, and who they want, which party should lead the country. So this has been happening since 1994, right? So this is why this is called Freedom Day. It's a very important day in South Africa. So what do people do on this day? People often relax at home. They watch celebrations. Many times it's political celebrations, like it's about what they have achieved in terms of the politics of the country, right? So many political parties like the ANC and the EFF and all of these political parties, they have their political events and they talk about the history, right? But what happens in South Africa, because it's a democracy, right? It's different parties, and not everyone is united on the political uh, the political view for the country, right? So every political party comes with their own politics, right? But in China, I know it's only one government and people need to follow the rules of that government, right? So in South Africa, the people are divided on the politics, right? Some want this party, the others want another party, and and people sometimes fight one another because of their different opinions, right? So what also happens is people spend time with family on this day. Another important public holiday in South Africa is this one. It's called Heritage Day, right? So this is coming on the 24th of September. So this is a celebration of different cultures in South Africa, okay? So because South Africa has got 12 official languages, okay, 11 or 12 official languages. And for each of those groups, the culture is different, right? It's a different culture. So this is a celebration of all of those cultures. And when I talk about the official languages, I'm not even talking about other groups. Like there is a big Chinese community in South Africa. It's not included in this, right? There are others. There's the Italian community, so there's a big migrant population. So this is not even included, right? Because South Africa has got many, it's very diverse. It's very diverse and cosmopolitan, right? So here you can see people enjoy traditional food, music, and their clothes, right? So just like the Jewish community has their clothes, the Zulu community have their clothes, the Afrikaans community has their heritage, right? So what happens is people generally have a braai. This is called or barbecue. Did you hear about this? Barbecue, right? It's a barbecue. So this is like when South Africans grill some meat, and they grill the food. But many times it's meat because South Africans like their meat. And they barbecue it outside, right? They make a big fire and they drink South African wine and South African beer. They wear their traditional clothes and sing, right? So this is generally what happens. And then I'll just tell you about one more holiday in South Africa, which is important because South Africa has a big Christian community, okay? This is a religious holiday. On 25 December, this is a Christmas, right? So this is also a popular holiday in South Africa because many families eat together and they give gifts, right, to one another. So, because South Africa has a big Christian community, okay? So what happens is they also eat a special meal around Christmas or special food. They visit family and they exchange presents. Right? So you will see also for England, okay? Normally they also have in England, they will speak of a public holiday or they'll also speak of a bank. They'll say it's a bank holiday. And I said, when I was in England, I said, what do they mean by a bank holiday? And then I looked at the history and then I understood that they call it that because the bank is closed, right? If the bank is closed, then it's a big holiday, right? So So public holidays in England normally are called bank holidays, right? So they'll say, is it a bank holiday? Then you know the bank is closed, so most businesses are going to be closed. Most shops will be closed, or they will close early, you know. And then they also celebrate Christmas, like South Africa. In South Africa and England, also they celebrate Easter. This is another religious holiday, right? This is a holiday, it's a Christian holiday. It has to do with the death and resurrection of Christ, right? So Christ is the deity that Christians pray to, right? And then what happens is people go to church, right? They eat chocolate eggs. So it's just special food. Not everyone eats that, okay? But if you go to the shops, you will find a lot of chocolate eggs and all sorts of things, right? And then New Year's Day, which is 1 January, this is also celebrated in South Africa. They celebrate the start of the new year. Remember, you guys were working with me on New Year's Eve last year. So we did talk about New Year's. I was busy working, and you guys told me about the Chinese New Year and how it's a different process, right? So here, obviously, it's just to celebrate the start of a new year, and there's normally a party the night before, right? And then people stay awake until midnight if they can, and it's a big party. And then on 1 January, they always have the day off, right? Because it's called New Year's Eve, right? New Year's Day. The day of the party is the day before. That's called New Year's Eve, like New Year's evening, because it's an evening party, okay? What happens? People normally celebrate with friends and family. Sometimes they watch the fireworks, okay? They make resolutions, right? So what are resolutions? It's just plans and new goals for the new year, right? They'll say, so I can say to myself, okay, I need to work on my weight, okay? I need to lose weight. I need to work on my English course, right? So those are all goals or resolutions, and people decide on new goals for the new year. Many people do not. They say they have a long list of resolutions for the new year, but then they don't do it, you know. By March they forget about their resolutions. So that is always very funny. Okay, now I was looking at some popular Chinese holidays, and you can tell me if this is right. Okay, so this one is Chinese New Year. So this can be January or February, right? Am I right? Because it changes, right, depending on the Chinese calendar. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this year, when was it? Is it in February or was it in January this year?
This
You
is
remember? Okay. So it was in January.
no, it's February.
Oh, it was in February. Okay. So you need to look at the Chinese calendar each year and see when it is happening, right? On which day. Okay.
Yes.
So this is it's the biggest holiday in China, right? So it's a public holiday. Okay. And from what I understand, Chinese people eat special food. They watch dragon dances. And they give red envelopes. Is this right? Do you give red envelopes, Tang?
What's this?
It's it says here they give red.
Yes. Yes.
Why? Why?
Just give
Yeah.
for chat. Just
Yeah.
means no scrolling fast.
Ah, okay. And I must watch these dragon dances. It sounds very interesting. Okay. And then I know about this one. 1 October is it's the National Chinese Day, right? So
Yes.
this is the national day which celebrates China. This one is like the South African it's like the South African Heritage Day, right? The one that's coming up in it's almost like Heritage Day in South Africa. This one for 24 December. Okay. So this is also, it's just to celebrate China, and it looks like many people travel during this day. Okay. And then they watch parades and they travel and they see fireworks, right? And then I also know about this. Is it a spring festival or is it an autumn festival? Tang?
Which one?
Do you celebrate spring or is it autumn? Is it spring festival or is it autumn festival? Because I know, from what I know, I think this one, because it's to celebrate the moon and family. That's what it says here. And then it says here, Chinese people eat moon cakes on this day, and they look at the moon and spend time with family. Is this in autumn or is this is it in spring? I think this should be spring. I'm not sure. I must check this one.
Yes. Autumn.
Is it autumn? Yeah. So it's normally in September or October. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here, guys, the most important thing to remember is that a holiday or a public holiday is just a day of rest or celebration, right? What does it mean to celebrate? It means to do something special for an important day, right? And then when it's family time, it means, it depends. Some countries don't have family values, but I know that in China they also celebrate family values. Okay, the family is very important. So most of these holidays are about spending time with the family. And when we say tradition, it's just something that people do again and again. Like every year you have your autumn festival, and you have your moon cakes every single year. So that's a tradition, right? My mother, for example, puts up the Christmas tree in the house every year in December. And all of our presents go under the tree every year in December since I was a child. So it's always like that, okay? So is there a public holiday that you guys like in China? Do you have a favorite public holiday?
New Year.
Why? Why do you like New Year?
Because have many holidays.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, I want us to move on and talk to you guys about I want to move on. So that is all I wanted to say, okay, about the calendar. Okay? And I want to move on and talk about numbers. Okay? So I want us to first of all start, and in term one we did talk about numbers, like at an introductory level, okay? How to pronounce it, how to write it, like basic numbers. So now I want us to talk about what is called ordinal. Okay, in English these are called ordinal numbers. Okay, so what happens is whenever you need to sort of you use regular numbering 1 2 3 for day to day in for your day to day transactions, right, in your day to day. But then sometimes you need to introduce this ordinal number system, okay, when you are counting. For example, when you are talking about the winners in a competition, right? So let's say there are 3 winners, right? You can say we have the 3 winners. One came in 3rd place, the other one came in 4th place, the other one came in 1st place, right? And it's a different prize for each one, right? So when you introduce this type of numbering system in English, these are called ordinal numbers, okay? So what happens is they are basically broken down into sections, right? So when you work from 1 to 10, you have your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Let me just show you the example here. Yeah, here we have, let me just close the screen, right? So obviously, let me just show. So here we have number 1, right? So this is in the first category. Let's start in the first category, right? So in the first category, you have first, okay? Let me just show you the spelling, okay? There you can see. Can you see here? Please repeat after me. First.
First.
Yes, first. And then what happens is you have, okay, so after first comes second, right? Here you can see the example, second, right? And then you have
Third.
where is, yeah, there we go, number 18. So it's third, right? There is the third. And then you have fourth, very good. And then you have
Five.
yeah, it's pronounced fifth. Yeah. So here you have it's actually pronounced fifth. Yeah. I know you say number 5, right? Number 5, just think of 15 to help you remember. Think of 15 or 50, right? That intonation, okay? So you say then fifth, right? Not 5, not like 5. Think fifth. Yeah. If it helps you. I hope it doesn't confuse you. And then we have here 6th, right? So this, yeah, 6th. I want to show you the spelling. There we go. So it's 6th, right? And then comes 7th. Yes, 7th, right? Remember the TH in the end, okay? So you need to pronounce the full word, okay? So you say 7th, okay? That's right. 7th, 5th, 7th, okay? So here your TH in the end is not silent. You have to enunciate, okay, in order to be clear, because otherwise people will hear something else, right? They will hear something else. They'll think you are talking about something else. Right, so then we have, after 7th comes 8th, right? But I'm not seeing it here. Let's just see, why is 8 not here? Okay, it's not a problem. This is just to show you the principle, okay? It's to show you how it works in principle. What I will do after this is send you the full breakdown, okay? So after 7th comes 8th, right? 8th, and then so it's the same principle as the other TH numbers, okay? It's to show you how the template sort of works, right? So you either have your STs, which is your first so what I mean by STs is your numbers ending in STs, right? That is the principle. So you have your STs, you have like 1st, 31st, 21st, right? In your second category. And then you have your THs, right? Like 10th, 8th, 11th, 5th, right? So that's the other one. And then you have your RDs, right? What do I mean by that? I mean 3rd and 23rd, right? Like here we have 23rd, okay? So that is essentially the main rule. The categories, you have your ST numbers, you have your RD numbers, you have your TH numbers, right? And so what happens is normally in the first category, you will count. The first category actually determines how the next category of 10s will work, right? So what is the first category? So that's from 1 to 10. You have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, right? So can you see? And then when you get to 11, the way it works is you have 11th. So that second category is from 11 to 20, right? So all of those have TH in the end, right? So 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, right? And then what happens is when you get after your 20s, the next set of 10s that you work with, you take your first number, right? So let's say you are working with a 20, right? The category of 20, the 10, 20 numbers in your 20s. You take your first number, you say 20, and then you combine it with that first set, right? You say 21st, right? And then you say 22nd and 23rd and 24th, and so on, okay? So, and then it's separated by, you need to hyphenate it, right? So it's normal. What do I mean by that? It's 2 words with a hyphen in the middle. Like you can see here, 21st and 23rd, 25th, and 27th. Can you see how it's hyphenated? So you basically use that system, right? 1 up to whatever the number is, right? So what am I saying? What I'm saying is, if you understand how to use this properly, the foundation properly, then you just apply that. The higher up you go, the higher up in the numbering system you go. But I will send you a worksheet where you can practice this some more, okay? But this is a very good foundation, okay? And if you understand the way this works, the system, you'll be able to do ordinal numbers without any problems, okay? You just need to analyze it literally for 10 seconds, and then You should be able to do it, okay? All right. Now, before we conclude the lesson for today, I want to quickly talk to you about using large numbers, okay? So what do I mean by this? How to use large numbers. So normally what happens in English, and you guys will know this because we did some of this in term 1, okay? And you will see that usually in English what happens is they write numbers larger than so what you usually write numbers larger than 100 in figures, right? So that is what happens. So what do we mean by that? It means you don't write down the words, you write down the numbers, right? For numbers that are larger than 100. because otherwise it's just too long, right? It's too long, right? So here we are going to talk about thousands and millions, okay? So let's quickly look at, let us quickly look at, do you want me to, let me play you this, I can't decide if we should. I want to play you an example, okay? So this is what I'm going to play you an example in a moment, but I want to just show you an example of what I mean by writing the numbers in figures. These are called figures. Numbers are figures in English, okay? So when you are dealing with letters with the alphabet, they are called letters, right? Like letters A, B, C, D. So when you're dealing with numbers 1, 2, 3, they are called figures, okay? It means the same thing. So what I mean by this is that when you get, for example, a number like this, which is over 100, okay? So here the number is 513, for example. If you write this down, it's going to be very long, right? Especially the higher up the number goes, right? When you are dealing with, here we are dealing with hundreds, okay? Here we are dealing with thousands. So, and there you are dealing with millions, etc. So the higher up it goes, you see like in number 6, we are dealing with millions. So the higher up it goes, the more, the longer your sentence is going to be. And it's too repetitive, right? You repeat and repeat and repeat. So what happens is the standard practice is to write the long numbers in figures. So in other words, you don't write them in words. So here we can see them. It's written in words, right? Like here it says in letters or words, right? So this is 532. And here you can see the spelling, right? This is the figure. These are the figures. This is the spelling in letters or words, right? So letters, I mean like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So those are letters, right? But when I say word, I'm talking about this word, right? That combination, okay? So when I say in words, then I'm talking about all of this with an S, right? So I'm just showing you an example of what I mean, okay? So then to make it easier and more understandable, what happens is when people are talking, much like the example we looked at with the abbreviation, for example, of the days of the month, it's easier to just write the numbers. They write they write the numbers in figures, right? So here you see this is the figure and this is the number written. So when you are then reading these numbers, what you need to do is add "and," okay, in front of the number, and then you need to signify it by the last two digits, okay? So and like, for example, say 110, and as I said here, 513. Here we have 530. Can you see? And here you can see as we go on, this is 8,436. Can you see? That is what I mean by this explanation, okay? And then, so what we're going to do is, I just want to see how much time we have left. I want to just play this audio, okay? So you can hear the explanation. You can hear people talking about the numbers in real time, and then we can look at your answers in the next lesson, okay? The first 10 minutes of the next lesson, and then we will conclude, we will finish this part. This is the last part I want to deal with about numbers. I just want to practice this with you, like writing them properly, okay? In other words, writing them in using figures, okay? And important where you place the comma, okay? I just want to practice this with you. So I want us to do this as the final section that I'm going to talk about with you when it comes to numbers, okay? And then, oh gosh, I wanted to just also, yeah, this we did talk about, okay? So I think, yeah, I think what we'll do is, because we only have 4 minutes left, I'm going to just play that audio in the next session, okay? In the first 5 minutes of the next session, and then we will practice that. And when we conclude, I want us to then, I think what we'll do is, as part of our revision, I'm just looking at the time. Yeah, so what we will do as part of our revision in the next lesson, so this is on Wednesday, we will do this audio exercise, okay? Let me just go up. Where is it? Yeah, we will do this audio exercise as part of the revision on this session. So it's 15 minutes or 10 minutes in the next lesson, and then we will move on and we'll start talking about the past tense. Okay, any questions for me before we conclude for today? Is there anything you want to ask? Anything that does not make sense? No questions. Okay, all right, so I'm going to leave it here for today. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.